Hi, you don't know me, but the other day I took shrooms for the first time in 7 years and I watched Schindler's List. While I watched, I started thinking about Looney Tunes, and it occurred to me that Bugs Bunny is kind of a reprehensible person. He's very toxic, and I think it would be difficult to be friends with him. He's charming and has lots of likable qualities, but at the same time, he also acts like utter trash to everyone in his life. This is who Bugs Bunny is. It's reflected in his actions. He's very rude to people, flippant, dismissive of other people's needs. He has this pattern where he compulsively instigates fights that he doesn't need to, and when somebody pushes back and stands up for themselves, he'll look at the camera and say, "This means war." That's inappropriate, toxic, self-harming behavior. But it also makes sense to him. His toxicity has its own interior logic. And what I want to argue here is that Bugs Bunny is not only a rude person, but he feels like he needs to be that way. For him, it's a survival technique. Bugs Bunny's life is very violent. Every day, someone's trying to shoot him in the face, or someone's trying to eat him. Oftentimes, he gets lost and ends up in a part of the world embroiled in a contentious geopolitical struggle, which means that to survive, he has to do reprehensible things so that he is not murdered. Bugs Bunny has made decisions that most of us have been lucky to never have needed to make. For example, he puts his friends in situations where they get shot and not him. He assaults people, humiliates others. He dresses up like a woman and tries to seduce his own persecutors in order to escape, which, if that's his comfort levels, that's fine, but these aren't the ideal conditions for him to explore his gender. That's hard for him. That's hard for anybody. That's difficult not only physically, but mentally. Bugs Bunny is a person who does raw things to survive, and so he needs to be able to look at himself in the mirror and stomach himself. And so as a survival technique, he develops this very rude, bristling, jocular personality. And that's where asshole Bugs Bunny comes from. How would you describe Bugs Bunny in 3 words? I'd say he's glib, he's rude, and he's dismissive of other people. And what are all these things? What are these behaviors? It's a form of disassociation. He's an ironic wisecracker because he needs that irony to separate himself from his own dangerous, unconscionable actions. Remember how he'd say, "Ain't I a stinker?" That's him rationalizing his behavior not only to the audience, but to himself. Every time he's asked, "What's up, Doc?" he knows the answer. He knows the answer. He strives on that negative attention. Bugs Bunny needs validation from us that he's a bad person. Otherwise, he has to reckon with the responsibilities of his actions. That is why Bugs Bunny is a rude person. I'll be honest, I worry about Bugs Bunny. What happens when he grows old? When all the bullets stop flying? When things are calm in his life? Will he be able to turn that part of himself off? In life, the skills we need to survive changes as we mature. What makes sense when we're 16 doesn't make sense when we're 30. Sometimes it's a very jarring adjustment to make those changes. If Bugs Bunny doesn't have an antagonist in his life, will he start to create them? As he starts to settle down and start a family with the heterosexual Lola Bunny, will he just turn on her and the children? Part of me fears that he will end up like his good friend Michael Jordan, a man who used antagonism all his life to drive himself into this competitive frenzy, but then post-career, he couldn't turn it off. And now that he doesn't have a basketball anymore, he uses Hall of Fame speeches and entire Netflix specials just to rip into anyone who's ever slighted him in his entire life. He never let go, even when he had no reason to hold on anymore. The greatest athlete of all time needs to contrive a 10-hour piece of propaganda to figuratively dunk on Isaiah Washington for something that happened before I was born, and I'm a millennial. Will that be Bugs Bunny? Sitting there, full tumbler of scotch, digging his arms into the easy chair while bitter, resentful memories of Yosemite Sam bounce around his head? While he's sitting there in his living room, will Bugs Bunny eyes scan around the room, and he spots one of his sons sitting there, quietly playing with a plush carrot? Will his son look up and say, "I love you, Daddy"? Will Bugs Bunny, the most famous cartoon rabbit in the world, uses cartoon magic to replace his son's carrot with a firecracker as a means of retribution for some imagined slight? When his son starts crying after an explosion blows up in his face, will Bugs Bunny rush to his son? Will Bugs Bunny be angry at himself and confused at himself, holding his baby rabbit in his hands, gently attempting to console him and tell him that everything's going to be all right? But then will he momentarily look at the camera and to the audience and say, "Ain't I a stinker?" I sure hope not. Anyways, subscribe to my channel, and if you share this video with someone you used to date, they will realize they made a mistake in leaving you, and they'll fall in love with you again. So post it on Twitter